Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, starting a fresh week on a Monday, June 24th, year 2024. Here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access, and rightfully so. And then here we're continuing business as usual. And Chris Lucore is here with us this morning. Chris, thank you so much for showing up. Really appreciate it. And can I start a little bit by raving about you?
Of course.
Well, to those who don't know Chris Lucore, he runs a successful gallery out of Montauk. He is a successful artist in his own right, and his progress is meteoric, for lack of a better word. And I don't think I ever recall myself admiring and respecting such a young artist. And in this case, I do. And I must say, Chris, that I'm delighted to see the kind of giant steps that you're taking into your art, through your art, into the business aspect of art, being a gallery owner, and then, of course, a curator, man. Is there anything you cannot do? Like, how about let's hang 558 square inch pieces in the shape of a star?
One afternoon, we got it easy.
So what's up? Tell us a little bit about you now and about the progress of the gallery, and just you, of course, the upcoming invitational and what's not.
So, I mean, this year a lot is going on. I feel like this year I'm really starting to see opportunities taking off within my own work and then opportunities for curating shows as well. So there's a lot of exciting things coming up in the near future. Next weekend, we're opening a new show at the Lucore Art called Under the Sea and By the Water. We've got 11 fabulous East End artists, each approaching nautical themes from different angles. And then, of course, coming early August, August 2nd to 11th, will be the 57th Springs Invitational, which I'm honored to have been chosen as the curator for. So that's going to be incredible. And then, shows every 3 weeks until December and much more.
Amazing. And I know that you and I, we always talk about art, discuss art, breathe art, eat art, feel art, smell art, touch art. um, and and for some reason every encounter is refreshing. It's not like, like I said, oh, we just talked about it, or we talked about it enough, or uh, tell me about your, because I think that people should know about that kind of um, inner growth that goes alongside that, which kind of looks seems to the world as effortless. Tell me a little bit about that process that's taking place, but that you can actually feel it within you in that artistic growth, and becoming a real adult here.
So, I mean, I think the quickest way to put it would be learning on the job. But there's a lot that goes into the job of being an artist and being a curator. And so, like, each show for me is an opportunity to engage with the art that I'm pulling into the show and think about things differently. And I don't like to just show one type of art. I like to bounce around and make sure I'm showing the whole gambit of what I could do. If I show abstraction one day, I want to show photography or surrealism the next day. And so engagement with all these different media outside of my own, creational wheelhouse is a lot of inspiration that comes in, and it helps me, think. Yeah, I'm a process person, so I look at all these different processes and I try to break things down differently. And just the more I engage with art, I think the easier it starts to become to break things down and engage with art and look at art for the things that the artist who made it is interested about. And then that helps me engage with my own work on a deeper level as well.
Yes, and also you're learning a lot about the psychological side of it, being a gallery owner. So, and I remember I asked you this question that many years ago, a couple of years ago, or something, or last year, about your awareness of that psychological aspect of the average spectator slash collector slash just simply art admirer. What is the psyche of that prototype as you getting to learn more and more about the trade?
The psyche of, let me just clarify the question. The psyche of the
Of the prototype,
gallerist.
no, of the prototype of that individual that comes in and out through your galleries, through your establishment. I'm sure you gathered a certain feel about what is it that's really taking place when people come in and out from your establishment,
Well, I think certainly it's always different. I mean, you can tell the
other
amount.
than the obvious, of course.
Yeah, you can tell the amount that people are engaged with the work when they come in and what they're looking for. And I think often people approach artists with a healthy dose of skepticism, because it's like they think, or they see you doing something. Artists, we really love what we do. We put a lot of work into it, and we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it. But then there's this side of things where people feel like, oh, because you love what you do, you're not fully entitled to compensation for it. So that's, I think, where some of the skepticism comes in. And it's
Say
always,
that again. I'm sorry. Repeat that last thing you said.
I think there's sort of an opinion when approaching artists who are selling their work that since they love what they do and they love what they're creating, then they're not entitled to financial compensation for it.
Really?
Not always. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of a little, yeah, okay.
yeah, and I don't, I think that, you know that's a tough opinion, because like you should be able to love what you do, and you should be able to do what you love as a business, or then why do it, right? Or because you love it so much that you do it anyways, still I don't think means that like that skepticism is justified. If
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think it's far fetched, but but we are kind of in the business of kind of educating the public a little bit, but it doesn't go long ways. There's only that much we can do, and quickly enough you realize that you're trying to teach that which is extremely obvious.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, even if you were, I did one solo exhibition where I did not send invitations, I did not advertise, I did not publish, and you know how many people came? A lot. No East Hampton Press, no East Hampton Star. That used to be like a big deal then.
Yeah.
And only Ashwa Hall had it on his website. So let's see. So it's almost like applying to one college while all the kids around you applying to like about a dozen colleges and getting like a nervous breakdown before they even started.
Yeah.
Nobody ever came to them and said it's okay to apply to one. It's okay.
Right.
No, fear not. So but then we realized that if we say, okay, we did as much as we can as far as trying to be kind to people, in addition to professional, and I thought that it's better for us as artists to come across as, hey, I'm strong enough for you not to contemplate to mess with me intellectually or emotionally,
Right.
because you should already see that I'm pretty much up there, with my emotions and how I control it, and how no matter all the things that you notice and all those that you don't notice, still do not stand in the way from creating what I just see here. And that's the thing we want to share with. I think. I mean, do you feel that sometimes you want to do your work and you want to put it out there, and you want to just kind of sit back and really enjoy the probability of what's going to take place and fully ready to be surprised?
Always. I think, though, with art, it always seems like there's more that you could be doing, that there's another level that you could be reaching. Or so I think often it's difficult in situations, even when things go perfectly. The show came together amazing, it looks incredible, the reception was packed. It becomes a little bit difficult to take a win on those things, because it always feels like there's another level that I could be surpassing. And I think that happens on both the business curatorial gallerist side of things, and then as well on the creation, art side of things. Like, even when you finish a piece, you don't just sit back and say, that's it, that was the piece that I was born to create, and I'm done, you know. It's like, all right, next blank canvas, you know, what comes next. So I think there's an important balance between taking pride in the accomplishments that you've already completed and having that drive to attack the next thing that you want to do.
Yeah, and but it's great. It's incredible how we create our own language that we find out quickly enough that is more universal than we thought it was, and then there's the process of adaptation to what it really means for us as artists is quite demanding because you think certain things are given a no-brainer, so you should kind of be able to digest it fast enough. But when I encounter the people out there that come that I really deeply want them to pay attention, to give it a chance, give it more time, and not to rush to place your opinion, to wonder, to and to wonder even more,
Mhm.
and then just come on and then try and really make it successful in attempting to create a discussion and interaction, sharing. It seems to be difficult for the world out there to be nonchalant about the big dealness of owning art, creating art, showing art, all this. And I'm sure that you're in your profession, other than just being an artist, being a gallery owner, you really feel it. Do you take kind of mental notes as things happen around you as a businessman?
Most definitely. Um, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of on the gallery side, you know, it's a lot of response, you know. So you're seeing, yeah, I've done many shows now, and each one I think is a lesson for the next one. So there's always something that you can learn. Like, for example, with the show that I have on now, I felt that people were very active in engaging in the work based on like how the artist was thinking about his work, and I felt like I did a pretty good job explaining the artist's, you know, the way that he was conceiving his work. Although, as a lesson, you know, as a mental note I made to myself, I felt like his work had a lot of history behind it. And while I understood his approach and the way that he was interpreting the history, I didn't have a full understanding of the art history setting of the pieces.
Did he give you a crash course before you formed your opinion, or is it your opinion that you formed just out of your own reservoir of experience?
It was, I mean, it's a mixture of both. So he definitely, I mean, I had to get a crash course from him. Like, when there's that deeper level of thought
Yes,
behind the art,
yes,
it's not always possible to pick it apart visually just by looking at the paint and the painting.
yes.
So, like, yes, the mental notes go into it from the crash course that he gives me, but then it also, this gives me cue for the future that it's good to do a deeper dive based on the mental notes that I make from that interaction, because like I can get so much from you, but if you're giving me historical context, then I can maybe dive into that context and make sure I have a better understanding of the history, so that I don't just understand your relationship to your work, I understand your relationship to your work and your work's place in history.
Yeah. But it's interesting how we take advantage of the ability to change our mind as artists constantly. That means I can be asked a question, and as I'm about to answer it, I will make a decision to change my whole outlook on what the answer supposed to be and is so far, and then give them a new dose of it.
Right.
Uh, so it's more like um, how do you find a simple way to tell people, uh, why don't you go ahead and do your job, and maybe we can talk later, kind of. But it doesn't seem like you did your job yet. Go around, enjoy, inhale, exhale, doubt, accept, admire, feel disappointed, exuberant, enlightened, whatever it is. And then it's just like paying respect, and then and also it doesn't have to end up with a discussion. Who says that it has to with the you know? I saw the big guns when they come to a. I did have in my career a few times that some big guns that I knew really came to the show, and, and you look at them, and these people are they're not in this mode of, okay, I'm in the gallery now and I'm checking things out. But it was so elusive that every time you felt like you're learning something from them, because it was just a half-hour encounter, it suddenly it's just dissipating, and you just had it firmly in your hand. But one thing I learned from them is that they will not walk through something that they love and think is meaningful and substantial. They will stop and they will look. And once you thought they're almost done looking, they look all over again. And that amazed me. I remember I did a black on black piece, and one of those big guns came and he kind of did that to me. And he came and he gave me the most genuine explanation, sharing his feelings about this piece as if it just came from God Himself to the gallery. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I look at him and I'm too busy admiring him for being able to get out of his shell and be vulnerable and be like sharing and communicative. So that there is a lesson for a lifetime for an artist. How many artists do you know that will go through that in their lives, that experience and realize that it is for what it is and benefit from it?
Yeah. Well, I think that goes into some of what I've learned about how to engage with art as well. Like, it's it I mean, that's what I love to see. Like, when people walk into the show and they look at what I've got on the wall for them, and they really, like, they take their time and they go through and they think about their work and they tell me what they think about it, you know. So that's meaningful, and that feels like, okay, I've done my job. I've put something here that they can think about. And going back to the other thing where, like, feeling like I need to have more context, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. You know, somebody walks into the show and they're looking around and they're grilling you on it with all types of questions like, why is this here? Do you really know what you're talking about? You know? And so being put on the spot like that, it can kind of take a different turn. Like, maybe the last person that came in they looked at the art, they were so engaged, you know, and now you feel like you're on top of the world because you're having this back and forth with somebody who's really, like, digging into the work for what's there. And then in the opposite scenario, you know, if they're, like, digging into you for what you know about it,
Yeah,
sometimes, like, it can make you feel like, shoot, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But any explanation that one will offer you of his thought about, let's say, any current exhibition that you have, uh, will 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 have to be accepted if it's put in place language wise, in a kind of decently. So that means I can come to your gallery and let's say you have the show that I saw, and I said, well, it seems like this artist is basically a shy individual that's trying to bring up a notch that which is conservative vis-a-vis an enhanced moment of modernism. I cannot go wrong with this. I cannot go wrong with this. And you know what? I can do another five of them that will come from, oh, he shows bravery, very unusual. And then I can go on to explain whatever the moment will allow to me. But people don't allow themselves, and most people, of course, they're intelligent. I take it as a given that people are intelligent and
Hmm.
smart, but they don't give themselves that moment of playfulness that is going to be a win-win situation.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. You know what I mean? You're guaranteeing yourself something good happening. And again, I'm sure at some point you get fascinating moments there with
Definitely. I mean, well, a comment like that is it shows that, you know, you're thinking about how the artist might be thinking about their own work, and that, like, not every comment has to be, like, positive, you know, or just like, oh, what an incredible show, you know. That almost has it doesn't have as much substance. You know, you can say that about anything. If you're, like, taking the minute to look into the work and think about how the artist is thinking about it and give back your own feedback on that process, then, I mean, that opens the door for discussion. So I
yeah.
think definitely.
because most of them have a kind of premature um, uh, declarations, premature final presentation, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny how I find myself when I go see art with friends. Some friends of mine that feel the same way as I do, and they painted a painting or two in their lives. Uh, that would be like, I really, I really find myself wanting to like what I see, and while I catch myself doing that, I realize that something must be wrong for me to feel this way or think this way. If I'm saying like, why would I feel? Because I can only feel this way if I'm already convinced that it sucks. you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, okay, give me advice. I'm waiting for your advice, Chris.
um Take the win.
There you go.
Take the win.
Oh boy, so it's but anyway, let me just mention that we're sitting here with Chris Lucore from the Lucore Gallery in Montauk, and as I said, a curator, a promoter, a gallery owner, and above all, an active artist. So that's um, going to um, the whole idea of you curating the invitational. The invitational is a thank God for the invitational that you can have a, an exhibition that people are looking forward to. People consider it that it's kind of, you know, a little kind of beefy, a little kind of formidable in its own right,
It's got a
heritage,
reputation.
everything, big names, and all that. But tell me a little bit about according to so far what you had to go through, technically speaking, and and otherwise. Share with me the thoughts and feelings that you have so far, and it's coming faster and faster, isn't it?
Every week it gets closer. um so yeah, I mean, the exhibition is, it's going to be a big exhibition. I've decided that I want to do a lot of art, and I want to have a lot of fun with the way that I'm installing the art, so like, things fit the space well. So basically, my consideration has been trying to in- include all the people who have a long history with the invitational, who have every right to be there, and also bring in some new people who I see as people who are doing everything they can to build themselves up. And so, I mean, it's a lot of effort to like get in touch with all of these artists and make sure they all understand their responsibilities when what I'm planning to do. But I think that, the weight that this opportunity carries is, it's worthy of every, ounce of effort I have to put into it. So I'm confident in the way that I'm approaching it, and the abilities that I'll have to install the amount of art that I'm accepting in a meaningful way. But it's also, it's just really an awesome opportunity. And to be able to get to choose someone to be on the poster, and well, and to design the poster, it's, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I approach it as a creative challenge. Like, yes,
And I commend you for choosing who you chose for the. I don't know if you want to say his name, but you can. But I commend you for that. I thought that was a a decent, proper decision. Like,
yeah,
and it worked well
definitely.
because we need simplicity in the midst of complexity and sophistication. And we know that sophistication is always there for us as a given. So anything that we'll do will have a dash of it.
Yeah. Well, I think the artist that I chose is very strong at creating contrast, and so there's different ways of taking advantage of simplicity. Like, you can have a very complex design, and that makes your piece visually exciting, but then if you keep some things, if you like keep the color palette simpler, if you keep the design simpler, then you're building in strong contrast, so that the way that the things that make the piece special are more apparent, because you're choosing to simplify things in another location. And I'll go ahead. I'm very excited about the artists I chose for the poster. So the artist I chose this year was Steven Lotion, and yeah, round of applause for Steve.
Way to go, Steve! Way to go!
Yeah.
I mean, we need to have that level of excitement. Listen, when I approached the Jimmy Ernst, I said Eric Ernst. Yes, like I when I approached Eric Ernst to to do it, I knew that I wanted him to do it. I knew that there would be no other options when I got to this point. So when I called him and offered him first of all, he was literally almost tearing because he said, my father put this thing together. His father initiated it and everything. First thing he asked me is, well, uh, I would really love to have it. Do you have any other options? I said, of course not. It's yours unconditionally, unconditionally. And I even I've done something that never done before, which is usually, I mean, maybe I even made a mistake a little bit, but I said, why don't you print it in Hawaii, because he's always in Hawaii, and because he has a stamp as a signature and a, and a regular signature.
Yeah.
So it gave me the opportunity that he will do his own printing in his own vision, with whatever kind of technically speaking. But usually we give it to a certain person that I don't know if you're aware of that, but so I managed to upset some people unintentionally, but it didn't take much to upset many people with these things. And after the facts, I realized that it's natural that it should be this so. People have the emotions flowing, and you can't please everyone, and that's the way it works when things are happening like in
Yeah.
this way. And quickly enough, you realize that you cannot afford to be too emotional here, so you can now
Certainly.
elevate yourself to a point where you can be more practical.
Certainly, but I think what I mean in asking Eric to do it and then giving him the freedom to, print as he chose, you're giving.
Three versions he gave me.
Yeah, well, you're giving the artist the power.
Awesome.
And I mean, I think artists produce their best work when they feel like they're in charge of what they're producing. I mean, if you said, "Oh, I want you to make this poster, but I want it to be like it has to be a bunny rabbit with pink ears or something."
Yes.
Now you're putting constraints around the artist, and it chooses how they work and how they approach the
Yeah.
task. If you're giving creative freedom to somebody, then to somebody who's already used to, they know what to do with their creative freedom, then that gives them more power. So it was the same thing I did with Steve when I asked him to make the piece for this year's poster. He said, "Is there something specific you're looking for?" And I said, "Steve, I'm looking for you."
Yes, exactly.
you
You
know
took the words out of my mouth.
and
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I gave him freedom to produce the piece that he wanted to produce, and then it's a painting. It's a 18 by 24 painting that Steve made specifically for this, and I'm incorporating into the poster unchanged as Steve's painting. So
Yeah.
I mean, that, as the artist who's given this opportunity, now you feel like, okay, I get to dive into my vision here. I don't have to
Yes.
constrain myself to fit the vision of
It gives you
the
enough taste
situation.
to feel comfortable that you're going to do well with it,
Yeah, and
according to how you envision it.
it lets you bring your own strengths to the table.
Yes, yes, because usually it's also very kind of tricky, and suddenly it can just go ways you don't want it to. But I think that the path you're taking is keeping you fairly stable in that, so you can anticipate indeed that's indeed what's going to happen. So good. Well, first of all, I wish you luck with this, and I wish that you'll find a huge group of people admiring, rightfully so, for what you're capable of doing. And also, I'm thanking you for all the help and the camaraderie, friendship, and you and I, we both know a thing or two about curating, and I think that we both give each other the right amount of respect and space, and we have trust in each other in that sense. And I hope that this is something that will grow in our community, as I speak about it almost every day. But um, I wanted also to continue and have that kind of relationship between a show like the Invitational and your gallery, and having like one show after the other, after the other, after the other, Tell me a little bit about the grinding aspect of it. I really need to know
Well,
because there must be some level of grinding
there's a lot of
where.
grinding.
And I know you're young and we're strong and we can brush it off, but at the end of the day, there's certain things we cannot expect. Share with us some about it.
Well, the show, I mean, doing one show right after another, it feels there's a cyclic level about it. So like I mean, for the 3 weeks that one show is on, it feels like my full attention is supposed to be on that show. But in the sense that there's another one coming right after it, the attention is slightly split because now you have to be sure you're promoting the show at the right time. And then the shows that I do, they come down, like one show will come down and the next show will go up on the same day, so that like there's no break time or downtime in between them. It's just like run one right after the other. And then so that would just be the schedule for my gallery, but I I like to do more installation, so I'm always fitting other uh, opportunities to install art in between the weeks when I have a little bit more time, and so it's just, I mean, it's very constant. As soon as you get one thing done, you're already starting to do the things for the next show, and so that is good. We want to keep that constant flow of fresh energy because that is
Yes,
what empowers us in our own work as well. But it can also get to be a little bit overwhelming in finding the balance between getting the shows ready and then pushing my own work and then also having time to go to sleep at night. But like you said, I'm young and I'm here and I'm trying to take every opportunity that's available to me, so
yes,
that's very important to me.
yes. So, uh, I assume that a part of your vision, you would be able to tell us about what to expect other than the ongoingness of events and all this. So, but where is it? Where is it leading you? Because even if it's nothing but goodness, it's still at some point it's going to become transparent, and you lose all the pigment that you started with. So tell me about that. What is there as a supposedly indirect plan B in order to trick yourself not to be too complacent?
My real goal is to give Montauk a reputation as somewhere, Montauk and the Hamptons, as a reputation as somewhere where people expect to go and see good art. Like, I think Montauk, in a way, has been for many years now developing a reputation as like a touristy place. You go for fancy restaurants and nights out on the town and sitting on the beach all day. But I want to really, Montauk and the Hamptons, they have so much arts history and arts culture, and I think that history, it deserves celebration and adequate representation. And I think once people, if you can bring all that into the limelight, then Montauk, it'll really, like, art enriches everywhere it goes. It beautifies public locations, it brings inspiration, and it inspires the next generation of artists that they can do something great too and that their ideas are worth exploring. So I mean, again, the community is of artists out here is so explosive. There's so many people doing different and incredible things and approaching ideas from different angles. And so I'd like Montauk to, be an arts center. And I want people to realize that when they come to Montauk, there's 4 different galleries that they can boom, 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 and have a really inspirational experience.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you make sure, though, in the midst of all this, to give yourself ample time to create, period, and to continue your own vision as an artist? Because things can happen so quickly, and then you realize you've been neglected.
I think I try to see it all as
What do you
one.
do to make sure that you have that time available no matter what? if at all any?
Well, that's built into the structure of how I run my gallery. I mean, it's a studio, it's my studio, and it's a gallery. So there's the balance in there. I'm the one that's in the gallery every day. If you come to visit the Lucore Art during our hours and we're open, you'll meet me. I'm the one that's in there. And while I'm in there, I give myself time to push my own ideas. But I also see it all as one creative push, you know. So the work I do on the business side, on the curation side, engaging with the work of other artists is all, it's a creative process, and it's almost like doing research for the ideas that I'm interested in my own work. I mean, if you start feeling like things are too split and okay, I'm spending too much time, you know, shuffling paintings around and driving here and there for installations, and I'm actually not doing anything creative, then that's a very
No,
blocked
no,
way
no,
of
not
looking at
necessarily
it.
not doing anything creative. You're not doing enough.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, you know. So, but you voiced that concern to me, and rightfully so, because I now and then feel about it. That's why I would always know that, because I don't need that much sleep, I can always get those 2 3 hours when everyone is completely snoring, you know.
Yeah.
So I know that as a fact that many people, they go to sleep at 10 o'clock, you know, and so the, there's and it's frustrating because we really need the time, you know, and
If
and
only the
then
days were a little
the
longer.
time that we think we need a little extra time on top of that.
Most
So
definitely.
yeah, the concern is valid. You know what I mean? But so do you see that your actually own personal growth goes hand in hand with that which your business creative side is portraying?
Yes, I think so. I think, and it just, again, it just goes into the
Is
level
it
of
kind of
engagement.
synced together almost?
Yes, most definitely. I think, um, yeah, I think just that it's the engagement with the work. So even if maybe I'm not sitting in the studio today painting all day, the ideas are still racing through my head. You know, I'm looking at the ways other artists engage with their work, and I'm thinking about, is this meaningful to me in the way that I want to engage with my work? Is there something here that I can learn from? You know, so even if it's not physical studio time, because the time is spent physically working on the curation or the installation side, the ideas are still flowing for the studio. And then the time, even if it's a shorter amount of time spent in the studio as a result, it's a more powerful time because the engagement has been happening in the background.
Describe to me 10, 15 years from now. Describe to me what is it that a piece of artwork that you just did in the last 2 weeks, 15 years from now.
um
And
well
it's a serious question. It's not like I'm not trying to just sound smart here with the question. I'm just saying, and there's a good reason why I'm asking it actually. So just like I say, hey, what are you up to now? What was the, then you can talk to me about the painting you just created. 15 years from now would be what?
in the, like, creating a painting in 15
Can
years, or
you
what do I
describe to
hope
me?
that my
No,
painting will
describe
be
to
doing
me
in 15
the
years?
painting that you just worked on in the last 3 weeks, not 3 weeks now, 3 weeks in 15 years from now. And you just finished that piece. Describe it to me. So obviously, it's not going to be what you're doing today.
Yeah, I can tell you where my track is taking me right now, but I imagine, see, the process of evolution, I think, is a call and response. So you do one thing and you see what you did, and then you figure out, you respond to basically your own work. It's almost as if your own work is your inspiration, right?
Point of reference, yes.
So the work that I'm doing in 15 years is probably going to be way different, because there's going to be, you know, how many steps in between there, 1,500 steps, you know. So but I think right now, with the direction I'm moving, is I'm concerned with, I have a process that I feel very comfortable with, but I'm concerned with being able to use my process in a more free way and allow things to happen, instead of like forcibly controlling each part of my composition. You know, I want it to be, I think of myself as like an abstract expressionist. So I want there to be that expressionism that's happening when I'm creating the work. I don't want it to feel like I have this rigid plan and now I'm following it step by step in a production process until finally the final vision is realized. I want it to be like I have this bag of tools, and each painting within itself is a journey of discovery. So I'm trying to get away from over planning what I'm doing and have a better sense of making decisions in response to the decisions I've previously made. So it's the same
Yeah,
thing on the long scale. Your
yeah,
response to the last painting decides where you go in the next painting. But I also want it to be within each painting. My response to the first decision I made leads to make the second decision I made. So it's just opening things up, and instead of I think I've gone a long way to do that. 3 years ago I was painting all circles. Every piece I made was a circle, another circle, a different color, like a different color in the background. Now I don't want to paint circles anymore. I feel like I've done my time with circles, and I'm trying to figure out how can I allow more freedom to happen in the process of creating the design.
yeah. And you know what? If you were to ask me this question, I will start by giving you the title of the show that I will be putting in 2039. It will be Stop in Time. That's the title of the show. And you'll come in and you will see about 3 dozen pieces that are strictly a result of um, um, sweat slash melt, uh, melting paintings that was due to sweating. And I always have that kind of in my mind that I need to find myself like in a higher stage and work on it for about 5 years, and then feel free to go into create wonderful paintings and then allow them to melt, allow them to run.
Mm.
And then stop in time will represent the fact that I know how to stop it in time so it won't become altogether something I didn't mean it to be. So that's 2039. And you will come in and it will be no red dots exist in my shows. It will be like all sold out ahead of time. Like probably like as 5 minutes before the show opened or something. And someone will take picture of me and shaking the hand of the guy who just bought the entire paintings
Yeah.
and thanking me. Thank you. I said, don't worry about it. It's okay. So you ready for the next one?
Yeah. So in 15 years, I think that's a good goal. I want I want to feel like my art is important in 15 years, but also as a gallerist, I want to feel like all the artists that have worked with me over the past 15 years, I want to be sure I want to move as a family, I all want to come up together, and like not even just the artists, this is why I'm saying Montauk. I want Montauk to be an arts town. I want to take the place where I am and really glorify what we're doing here, and make
Yes.
and not even have it to have to be me glorifying it. I just want to I want I mean, there's so much magic happening here. I just want to let that magic continue to happen, and I'm, I want it to be visible at a higher level. So,
Yes. And I'm sure I'm sure we will have the time and definitely have the inspiration, and that's the thing about you and I that I see very similar. We're both kind of unconditionally inspired. We do things all the time. I don't think I ever heard you say having a hard time concentrate or having running out of ideas or things like that, or don't know exactly what to do next, or how to go about it. So these things don't exist, and that's why it feels like we can expedite the process and get there faster, kind of thing. And you know what? I like it for me that early on I wasn't taken like most artists around me by what people think about me or what's the proper way to do it or not. Um, I remember people were complaining the first shows that I did 25 years ago. Why are you using the paint directly from the tube? Why are you squeezing it out without? Well, you don't mix your colors. I knew what they were talking about, but I looked at them and I said, "What the f is wrong with these people? What? Why? Let's just say that okay. Let's just say that you're right. but it's not your business. So what is it that you try to communicate with me? So I decided, because I was annoyed, to ignore it. Lucky for me, otherwise I would just kind of, you know, go along for the ride
Yeah.
and suffer from it, because it will delay my own growth, in my own pace. When people say, "Why are you rushing all the time? Why are you doing? Why are you making so many paint? Why are you painting so many paintings? Why?" And I look at them and I said, I always hear myself speaking to myself, like, "What is wrong with him? What does he want from me now? Why is he approaching me to do that to me? I'm trying to understand it, but I don't have the time, the luxury of time, to stand there and putz around and trying to understand something that really won't help me down, something I already understand anyway." So it will be just what you see is what you get.
I think
Work ethics, putting in the time, and and meeting the same people 3 months later with a new solo exhibition, and now we start looking at each other, and now I feel hesitation on the behalf of those that were combative, like you say, or overwhelming. Suddenly they're silent, because there's something in place there that they realize that it has advanced so rapidly and so strongly that they don't have the tools to even get near it and start messing with it, out of their league. So what do? They become what you expected them to be to begin with in the first place. So you become friends. So we did da da da. And then by the third and fourth and fifth show, they are completely vocal on how amazed you are by what you're doing. And they don't even talk about the art. They just talk about your ability to put it together. Art is down the road. Maybe never. Because that aspect of the whole production is their art, what they perceive as art.
Hmm.
Like you. It doesn't matter what the show is. I come in, I see 120 pieces right there in the perfect composition. I'm too busy being taken by the moment. And maybe I will never recover from it to really look into the art and start playing it like I know a thing or two about art. You
right.
know? I will be taken by the enormity of the moment, which will lead to direct respect to the individual. In this case, it will be you. I said all of that only to say that at the end. Do you have anything to say?
I That's what I'm hoping for when people walk into my invitational. I want them to be taken in the power of the moment and all the art that's there. But then I also want the way that I lay it out to be so seamless, and that people they don't have to question why things are laid out the way they are. It's just like, it just sings, it's
Greatness is
accepted.
self-explanatory.
And then each piece is in turn easier to investigate when the whole together sings, because now you're not worried about, oh, this, does this really go with that? It's just like, yes, be taken by the moment and then dig in deeper. Like, that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. And
I'm just um, okay. I'm done with this. Okay. Um, I like to sit across from a person that is that the feeling is that all is in place, all is set, and that because I kind of feel in a similar fashion to the whole artistic immediate surrounding as you do, and to gather enough from it that indeed um, incredible work is being done in a very um, uh, down to earth given fashion. There's a high level of seriousness, though no one seemed to take himself too seriously. So it's a contradiction, but it's a constructive contradiction. And that exists in you. I noticed that. And I think that you should be able to promote that. That means to offer to people maybe a glimpse into it. And some people will benefit from it incredibly that you're not even aware of. Like, that's why for the longest time I felt, I was kind of having all these ideas or little discoveries, and I was rushing to share it with people. I was over zealous and enthusiastic. Like, listen, like I have something incredible to give you now. This was my attitude until I realized, because Alan Plants told me, you know, I noticed that about you, and you becoming too peculiar in your zealousness. So, not that it's bad, but remember, you have to remember when people look at you and say, "Oh, here's Haim," and in their mind they say he's a peculiar individual, is not necessarily a good thing. And then we had it. This is a great poet, a great thinker and philosopher, and I said, "Well, thank you very much. We're going to need to talk about it for an hour now," until I got to the bottom of it, and I realized peculiar, being perceived as one, I can do without. This was my conclusion, and you know what? And I followed by it. Even if I had to make a fool of myself in order to prevent from being observed, I mean, con- conceived as a peculiar, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I can go out there and act silly and distract everyone and prevent them from thinking about things that I don't want them to think about me. You know,
Yeah.
get them really busy.
Well, I think definitely you have to give yourself some room to be peculiar, though. Like there's places where that can take great impact, and then there's places where it can help. I mean, if you're trying to do something like very, very structured and serious, then sometimes like allowing the peculiar side to come in can damage the workflow. But if you're talking about like your own expression and everything, then I think you have every right to be peculiar. And if you're talking about things that excite you and like why, what something is saying to you, then I think again, yes, be
We
peculiar.
see it as maybe sophistication or maybe kind of above average, and most people will see it as, kind of weird, a weirdo, something you don't want to be perceived as that. And you know what I did? You think I did not was not intimidated by the knowledge that everyone and his uncle here is an artist? Mid '90s, when I first introduced myself to this world, I was scared to death. I hired someone. I swear to you, I paid someone money to tell me that I'm not a loser, and to tell me why he thinks, or actually she thinks, that my work. Let's say if I had an exhibition, I would bring her and I said, "Here it is. Tell me that I'm not a loser." Like literally, I was weird. I was really scared. Uh, I couldn't afford being dismissed. Like immediately, like you're done, you're gone, you cannot reappear again. That was my greatest fear. That's why I had to go to that. Where's my strength? Where's my strength? And then of course I knew it, but then I couldn't think, what is my strength? Nevertheless, where is it? Until I realized what my strength is, and I just decided to take this strength that was in my eyes incredible and introduce it to the moment that is so weak, so much weakness, so much doubt, so much exposure, so much vulnerability. So that took over, and suddenly when you come in, you experience that strength, and you not quite understand what the nature of it is, because it doesn't really radiate immediately from the art or from the moment, but rather from something that you're not aware of. So what happens is it causes you to take a step back, and for me as the artist, to benefit from it, because there's more room to breathe. You step back, but you're present, you're willing.
Yeah.
So wonderful things happen on the account of that. I kept people busy dealing with my strength that had nothing to do with the art show.
Yeah, I think that goes into the consistency though, because I mean, there's a lot of things that you experience as an artist or as a gallerist that you can take as discouraging, and if you allow that to be the focus of what you think and not how can I mean, those discouraging moments, those are opportunities, as you said, to step back and think about it, and moments for growth. But also it's the same way that you said when you were talking about people come to your first show and they say, why are you squeezing the colors out? And then they come to the next show and they see the development of how everything's changed, and then the third show, now they're just amazed, so that's the consistency and sticking with it. I mean, you're maybe you're not going to win somebody over the first time they see your art. They're going to see it and they're going to want to be skeptical. They're going to want to be dismissive. And then, but if they can see over time that you are dedicated to your process and your thought process, and you're not letting, anybody's opinion stop you from expressing what you need to express, then eventually I think that garners respect. I mean, if it's
Yes.
a one-off thing, if you're like, okay, I just made this painting, it's unlike anything I've ever made, I don't think I'm going to ever be able to make anything like it again, and then you get a negative response to it and then you quit, then
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to drive anyone to believe in you. If you make a painting and you say, I don't think I can ever do anything like this again, and it goes terribly, and then you're right back 2 weeks later with an entirely different thing, and you didn't give up and you kept pushing forward, maybe they're not going to like that one either.
Yeah.
But that's only been two
That's why I
weeks
say, from the very fact of your experience and knowledge of your own personal growth, that you can teach people, but find a way not to be a teacher, not to come as an authority, but more like, listen, really, I really got something interesting here for you, and if you just take a moment, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And then, so why am I saying it will be important for your own growth as you engage with people and say, you know what, I didn't have this privilege that when I started my journey, someone will come and whisper in my ear, hey, don't go there, or do more of this. It, pause. It's time to pause, or whatever, something, some shortcuts that took me years. Yeah, but someone could have come and say, yeah, here's ABC 1, 2, 3, kind of some suggestions, and you realize they were so beneficial. It's unbelievable. Then when you start calculating what it is that you avoided due to using it, what is it that you spared yourself from due to having that available in your life, just because some kind individual came and said, I'm going to cut you some slack and I'm going to give you a little push.
Would you have listened?
Oh yeah, it did. Later on, it did happen, but only when it happened. At the point that it happened, I realized what it is that I could have. It's not like I thought about it before that fact. I wasn't even aware that this is happening. I was just engaged in all these energy draining factors surrounding me from all directions. And then when I started realizing, I said, why was I that kind of moment of like, how did I find myself in this mess? Well, it's because you don't have experience, because you're too excited to be a part of it, because you want to please everyone, the entire world. You want to make people proud of you. And that's not just a lot of things, with being an artist. So I think that you have it within you to start offering people a little bit of your experience in the right moment, the right timing. And people will say, "Yeah, this is something I will never forget."
Yeah.
Like a line in the poetry reading that I gave that someone remembered 30 years. And every time he sees me, he always recites that line. So for me, it's like, okay, it's great. What can I say?
Yeah.
So I we're almost done. It's almost like 57 minutes. Yes. So let me just say, I'm going to give you the last moment, but let me say, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning, Monday morning, June 24th, year 2024, here with the Hello, Hello show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, and my guest, Chris Lucore. And you get the last word.
Oh, geez. Well, all right. I'll be
About
here.
art, about everything, about all together. Summarize.
As Haim said, we'll be here tomorrow just as much as we are today. I will be building confidence and engaging with the art of my peers and bringing stuff to the walls for you to see. And I hope you come to the Lucore Art and engage with the art that I have for you to see, and to the 57 Springs Invitational and all the other events that I'll be at this summer. And I hope to see you there.
Well said. We love you. God bless. We'll see you sooner than you think.